What's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I am Brian and it has been a minute since I have done a video like this. If you know this channel, you know I like to review interesting things, but I'm also not afraid of addressing issues or controversy head on. And it appears that we have one of those situations with the company Azo Equipment. And the reason I'm making this video is because I've reviewed many packs from Azo Equipment over the years. They are some of my favorite packs that I've ever seen in the carry community. That remains true to this day. This pack right here might be my favorite pack ever made. The quality and construction are unparalleled, quite frankly. But the problem that we have is that it is becoming clearer and clearer that a lot of Azo Equipment customers are giving Azo money in good faith and not receiving actual products in return. And that really came to a head yesterday. And I've been working with AI to kind of sort through this, and I'm actually going to read a disclaimer before I get into this because I do think it is important. Before we get into the screenshots and the stories, I need to be completely clear. I am reporting on allegations, first-hand accounts, and documentation shared by members of the community, specifically regarding unfulfilled orders and the use of PayPal friends and family. This is my commentary on a developing situation. Finally, and most importantly, do not use this video as an excuse to harass or threaten the makers of Azo Equipment. Protect your wallets, share the information, but keep it professional. All right, so that out of the way, I want to get into an interaction between Azo Equipment and a customer and the kind of catch-22 that appears to have taken place here. So a customer reached out to Azo Equipment having placed an order some time ago and said, I've been more than understanding on this order. It is now over a year and I have not received this pack. I need a date for when this pack will be completed. Followed up with, at this point in time, I ask that you refund me on this order and make this right. If I had known it would take over a year to get this pack, I would not have submitted an order. I paid via PayPal friends and family, trusting that when I paid for this product, I would receive it in a timely manner, and I have not. At this point, I do not have confidence you will complete this pack. Furthermore, your reputation in the carry community is becoming known for terrible customer service and even worse, timely and accurate communication, and this instance proves that. I have ordered other custom packs that are more technical builds from other makers and have never waited this long. I no longer want this pack. I ask that you make this right and refund me the 765 GBP 1011.03 USD. Now, if this was an isolated incident, I could understand how there could be two sides to this story. Unfortunately, this incident is not isolated, and what comes next is really alarming. In addition to the fact that, quite frankly, the idea that this customer paid with PayPal friends and family immediately rang alarm bells in my head because that should never happen with a business. And the only reason I believe it's gotten to this point is because so many other people have probably issued chargebacks against Azo that they don't want to deal with that risk anymore, and they therefore are stripping the consumer of their protections that they should have when interacting with a business like this, such as being able to take delivery of goods which have been purchased. The response, very alarming. This is from Azo Equipment. It seems like you did not read our terms and conditions after all. We have attached them below for your reference. Note the part about abuse and threats especially. Kind regards, the Azo Equipment team. Terms for your Azo Equipment custom project. These are already ridiculously long, but let's go through them. I'm just going to read them. Hello and thanks for your interest in a custom backpack. We offer a very unique service in the ability to work together with our team and modify an existing design or create something new exactly how you need it. However, there are a few important things to note before you start this process. We do not offer refunds for custom work. If the details that you want to be included are not written down very clearly in the final build list that is attached to your invoice, it will not be included. It does not matter if you mentioned it earlier in an email, it must be on the final build list. The work is difficult and takes time, not only the physical making, but the ordering of exotic fabrics, often from abroad, delays due to customs or pandemics, there's no more pandemic, or courier problems, bad weather, planning the build, trial and error in production, and other factors like staff sickness, force majeure, etc. We do not ask for your patience, it is mandatory. Already, they are building a set of excuses to be able to say that your pack can be under construction indefinitely forever, and you have agreed to it via their terms of service. Very, very red flag waving, eyebrow raising, concerning terms. It is mandatory. If that is not acceptable, we totally understand, then please do not begin this project because we do not accept impatience from people who do not read these terms properly. Asking for updates during the build is okay, but in reality, all we will be able to say is that it is in progress. Usually if there is a delay, it is because we are trying to do the best for you. That means often at our own expense, ordering exactly the right shade of a fabric or webbing to match. You would not believe what suppliers and courier delays can be like nowadays. If you send photos or sketches, please reference them in the final build list and provide them again at the point of ordering. Anything not on the build list will not be included or remembered. We always use the best materials on our products, and that of course transitions to custom bags too, where a specific detail is not mentioned. For example, you may ask for black webbing. Another customer may ask us for 1733/7 black webbing. We reserve the right to use the materials that we deem best if specifics are not stated. In some cases, we encounter knock-on issues as a result of the implementation of new features which can affect factors like size. Generally, we will reach out to you if there is a question that needs answering, but we reserve the right to do what we feel is most fitting. We love what we do, but being chased, harassed, threatened, defrauded, or blackmailed, yes, we have had it all, is not acceptable and removes all pleasures from our work. As a result, any of this behavior will lead to an instant cancellation of the project with no refund given. In good faith, I could understand that term, but in bad faith, you could see how this creates a exit path for them to accept as much money and as many jobs as they like and never fulfill any of them and keep it all. And you will see why this term is very concerning given this interaction. In the event that there is a fault, very unlikely once the bag is delivered to you, or we have implemented something not quite in the way you wanted as written in the build list, we may consider to replace or repair. However, we reserve the right to do what we feel is best during the build to make it as durable and long-lasting as possible. This is why the build list is important. Okay, so the customer replies, "This in no way is threats or abuse. I am simply stating the facts. Again, I ask that you make this right." Azo replies, "You are suggesting we take a loss on all the costs of materials and time put into your project because you say so." Again, in good faith, I could see that being a fair argument. Reply, "I am suggesting that you take a step in the right direction. Whether you like it or not at this point in time, the carry community does not think highly of Azo in regards to custom packs. I know I'm not the first person to criticize the lack of communication or miscommunication that Azo has given. This is a prime example of where you, as the brand, can start to take some accountability. I paid Azo for the time to complete this pack in a timely manner. At what point is the customer's time not important to you? This is a time where you can actually show that the customer's wasted time actually matters to you." Azo's reply, "Okay, that's the second time that you have threatened our livelihoods with online bullying. Your order is canceled without refund as per our terms that you agreed to. All further communication will be blocked and ignored. You are warned. Kind regards." That last bit is wild to me. I understand the interaction. Again, in good faith, I can see both sides of this. Unfortunately, this is not a single instance of an issue with Azo equipment, and the idea that they can create terms of service that allows them to quantify what bullying is and then cancel orders when it just started as a simple inquiry as to what is the status is wild to me. It doesn't feel legal. So I talked to AI and I asked it. And let's read that interaction. Can you review this interaction between Azo Equipment, which is a custom pack maker based out of the UK, and a customer, and tell me, are their terms of service legal and are they allowed to keep the customer's money? Why did they require payment via PayPal Friends and Family? And what recourse does the customer legitimately have? This is a highly contentious interaction that highlights several major red flags for buyers in the custom gear market. Disclaimer, I am an AI, not a legal professional, and the following is an analysis based on standard e-commerce practices, PayPal's terms of service, and general UK consumer protection laws. Here's a breakdown of the situation, the legality of the company's actions, and the customer's potential recourse. Why did they require payment via PayPal Friends and Family? This is the biggest red flag in the entire exchange. A business should never ask a customer to pay for goods or services using PayPal Friends and Family. Evading seller fees. Friends and family transactions do not incur the standard commercial transaction fees, usually around 3%, that PayPal charges. Bypassing buyer protection. This is the critical issue. PayPal's robust purchase protection specifically excludes friends and family transactions. By forcing the customer to use friends and family, the seller intentionally stripped the buyer of their ability to open a standard item not received dispute through PayPal's automated system. Terms of service violation. Asking buyers to use friends and family for business transactions is a direct violation of PayPal's acceptable use policy and user agreement. Are their terms of service legal and can they keep the money? While a business can write whatever they want in their terms and conditions, that does not make those terms legally enforceable, especially when dealing with consumers. Since Azo Equipment is based in the UK, they are bound by the UK Consumer Rights Act of 2015. Unfair contract terms. Under UK law, contract terms must be fair. A term that causes a significant imbalance in the parties' rights and obligations to the detriment of the consumer is legally void. Term 8 in Azo's screenshot, claiming they can instantly cancel a project and keep all the customer's money if they feel chased or harassed, is highly likely to be considered an unfair and unenforceable punitive term. A business generally cannot simply confiscate a consumer's money as a penalty without providing the agreed upon goods. Reasonable time. For custom goods where no exact delivery date is specified, UK law requires the service be carried out within a reasonable time. After a year of waiting with no end date in sight, a court or dispute center would likely agree that the customer was entirely justified in asking for an ETA or refund. Subjective definition of bullying. The customer explicitly stated they were not threatening the business, but rather criticizing the reputation and the customer service based on the delay. The business weaponized its own terms to classify negative feedback as online bullying to justify seizing the funds. What recourse does the customer legitimately have? Because the customer used friends and family, standard dispute avenues are closed, but they are not entirely out of luck. It talks about credit card chargebacks. That's really not possible if you paid with a bank. Report the seller to PayPal. Even though the buyer can't use standard buyer protection, they should still contact PayPal support by phone to report the transaction. They should state that the business required friends and family for a commercial transaction and then refused to deliver the goods. While PayPal may not refund the money directly, they frequently suspend or permanently ban business accounts that abuse friends and family to defraud customers. Report to UK authorities. The customer can report the business to Action Fraud, the UK's National Reporting Centre for Fraud and Cybercrime, and Trading Standards via the Citizens Advice Consumer Helpline. UK regulators take consumer rights violations seriously, especially when a business writes explicit terms to try and override the Consumer Rights Act. Community awareness. As the customer noted, the Carrot community relies heavily on reputation. Sharing these screenshots in relevant forums or social media groups is a common recourse when independent makers act in bad faith. So that was a lot of reading. Again, apologies for not making this the most polished or engaging video, but I really wanted to get the word out there, and I feel very annoyed that I'm even having to deal with this, because this shouldn't be a problem that you should have to deal with when you're talking about a company that can produce products to a level of quality that is unparalleled. And if you know this channel, you know that I've seen a parallel to this in Zade Kicks. Zade Kicks was a sneaker reseller, and for many years he was a trusted source to get the sneakers that you wanted. Behind the scenes, his empire was crumbling slowly, and then it crumbled very, very quickly when he got investigated by the FBI for fraud and arrested. I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but the signs are very similar. When people purchase products and time goes by and more time goes by and more orders are placed, but orders are not delivered, to the point that it becomes a systemic issue, and everybody that is talking about it out in the open is looking at each other like, how is this even possible? That's what I saw with Zade Kicks. He would take orders, fulfill them piecemeal. You might have 50 orders and you might get 10, but he sprinkles them throughout the course of time, so it feels like eventually everything will come through, but the reality of the situation is the circumstances are piling up in such a way that truly fulfilling them is untenable. In my personal opinion, that is where Azo is at. I can't explain why they continue to take orders and not fulfill them, but there are seemingly so many outstanding orders for so long that any reasonable person that looks at the situation would think they're not all going to get fulfilled. And that is a problem, and that is really unfortunate, but that unfortunately is what I think is the reality of this situation. How did Azo get here? How could they have not gotten here? I don't know. We can all speculate. I mean, I've got ideas. I think they could have protected themselves far better if they took approaches that other custom makers have taken, which is open an order window. Accept 10 orders, accept 20 orders. Do not open another order window until you've fulfilled all of those orders. If you're not making enough money on an individual custom pack, charge more. I'm not even kidding about that. I know there's an expectation of cost in the community. I think we've seen the ceiling on this rise, especially I'll say as Philip Robach has auctioned off a Wanderer for thousands of dollars. But this is a pack that genuinely, I think they could charge $2,000 for, and if they made only a certain number of them, there are consumers out there that would buy them. They are a niche custom maker that fulfills a pack enthusiast's every desire down to the finest detail. It doesn't matter what the materials are worth. The craftsmanship that goes into this is easily worth $2,000. So maybe don't take full custom orders. Maybe streamline what you're willing to customize. Charge more money. Accept less. It is critical that you fulfill the obligations after you take a consumer's money. If you're going to take money and in the back of your head you think that you can fulfill this order 3 years from now and never actually put any work in towards it, you're fooling yourselves, you're defrauding people, and the reality is you're never going to get around to getting it done. So that's all I've got for this one. Please let me know what you think about this in the comments. Please let me know if you've been affected by Azo in this way. Again, I just felt this is really important to get the word out on this because it has now, I think, reached a point where it is very obvious that this is a problem. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. That's all I've got for this one, and I will see you at the next one soon.